Welcome everybody to the live stream analysis stream with subscribers and friends here on LeadChess.org. I'm International Master. Yes, I am an International Master. I don't know how. Streamlabs and OBS are joining forces at TwitchCon Vegas. Oh man, wish I could go to TwitchCon Vegas. You should go to TwitchCon and hang out there. Masturbate. I bet Eric Rosen will be there. Straight from Qatar. Alright. A single inattention may lose a chess game, whereas a single successful approach to a problem will make a mathematician's reputation. Norbert Wiener. Nedog, unleash the Kraken. You might literally have to... Oh, yeah, right. No, but the Kraken's only getting like 6 months. Probably, they recommended 6 months. 6 months. 6 years probation. 6 years probation? We might literally have to unleash... They might literally have to unleash the Kraken. I mean, Kraken will go to jail. No. Kraken's not going to jail. But don't associate my opening with her. Alright, seriously. I thought the same thing. It is kind of ironic that they might literally have to unleash the Kraken. Or leash the Kraken. But Kraken's going to get just... Kraken pled guilty. Is it pled or pleaded? Do you pled or pleaded? The Kraken pled guilty to election interference or whatever. Election subversion. Alright. What's up, Bijak? Guys, please support our efforts to go to the World Senior. If you haven't already, donated $69. There's still time. I think I caught a cold, like for the second time in 2 weeks. I hope I'm not going to be sick for the tournament. It feels pretty mild, but I was like sneezing. Suddenly got congestion. I just had a cold last week. What is this? The last thing I want to have happen is like get sick before I go. No, it's not allergies. I mean, I do have allergies a lot, but this was like weird. Anything's possible, Nedog. I mean, it could be allergies, just very sudden. And we had rain, like tree pollen. I mean, we had a lot of rain the last day or two. It would be weird. Chess Riddle? 2 days ago, okay. Yeah, that was nice to Chess Riddle. Is my game first? Are you sure you're not from India? I think all this time Bijak has been pretending to be from Serbia when he's really like a teenager from India. Am I first? You just like to troll? Are you just trolling? You see, it's so hard to tell. Like... Context is just non-existent here. I know Nedog better. If this is allergies, this is my cold medicine. I have this really horrible, like, cinnamon liquor that, if it wasn't for the fact that I had a cold, I just leave it in the cabinet. It's just gross. It's like sugar with alcohol. It tastes like cinnamon. Have you had that, Nedog? Like Fireball? It would be good if it wasn't too sweet. It's just overly like sweet. It's ridiculous. It's like drinking sugar. It's like drinking a sugar, man. I mean, it's just... Why does it have to have so much sugar in it? There's like twice as much sugar as it should have, you know? If it had like half as much sugar as it had, it would be like pretty good, I think. You know, it's just the sugar is out of control. It must be like 90% sugar, 10% alcohol. Fireball for the girls. There was some kind of like worker who used to like dump the fireballs, like the single fireballs, like when they would drink them while they were like driving to work or something. Because I would find them on the street all the time. The Fireball nips in her purse. My side chick. I didn't know there was a girl drink. But yeah, I think it was popular with the construction workers around my house. Um, and maybe I don't know. Maybe the cinnamon, like if you get caught drinking and driving, like the cinnamon covers up the alcohol or something. I don't know why they drink those when they drink and drive. It's cinnamon liqueur. It's just basically water and alcohol with cinnamon flavor, but it feels good with a cold. It's like cold medicine basically. I drank a beer last stream, Tuesday. Hey, what's up, Mr. Coffee? I was thinking you haven't been around much lately. We'll see you tomorrow. All right. Uber driver is. We can do Sumaker's game first. Uber driver's not here. I don't know if he's going to be here. Uber driver's schedule is kind of unpredictable. Just work has been hell. All right. So this is Schumacher playing white against Vladislav Kovalev. Explain to me again. Vladislav Kovalev is a Belarusian grandmaster, right? Why would you want to live in Belarus? Get the fuck out of there. Why hasn't he moved to UTD Dallas yet? Who would want to like stay in Belarus? Maybe if you like leave, they like kill your family or something. All right. So Schumacher versus Esquire. This is a 3-0 game. He was 2,700, definitely. No, the guy was. He won Aeroflot or something. That's his most. That's how I noticed him, Schumacher. Maybe like 4 years ago. No, he won the Aeroflot tournament, although I think it was Aeroflot, something big, some really big tournament. The Aeroflot is obviously like not a big deal anymore, since like, you know, no one wants to go to Russia to get just freaking arrested for no reason. He got banned from Belarusian Federation because he hates Lukashenko. He got banned. So where does he live? Well, where does he live? He must have moved out. But I wouldn't think he'd move to Russia. He'd have to go somewhere else. I mean, we could see. He was 40 in the world. Well, no, he won a big tournament, dude. I think it was Aeroflot before it faded away into nothingness. Alright. That was before he was like a household name, though. So, Schumacher playing the white side of King's Indian. He's had a lot of practice. He plays Makagadov. Black plays d6. You know, honestly, it's interesting if you look at statistics here. I'm telling you. Well, there was an article today, and there was a EasyJet flight, Narag, where they had to turn back, or they had to cancel takeoff because someone released the Kraken too early. In the toilet. Make sure that you release your Kraken safely. So d6. I think, you know, seriously, like playing the Benoni is probably Black's best choice here. Look at statistics. Oh, that's Lee Chess database. All right. Still. Wow. C6 has the best score. That's a very small sample size. Tell me there's not something wrong with this. What kind of database is this crap? Like, seriously. Okay, because Black castled. Most people play d6 first. We're going to get a transposition now. Now you played bishop e3. Now black has an option to play c5 here. I prefer the Benoni approach, but he goes with the hardcore. He goes with the hardcore Makhaganav. It's just nasty for black, man. Karpov Anand 2007. Seriously? Seriously? What kind of King's Indian is like Karpov versus Anand? You know? First of all, Karpov is like practically not playing chess anymore by 2007. Secondly, Anand like doesn't play the King's Indian, so that's sort of a weird game. That was number 2 in the list. Caruana lost to Naka, and Caruana drew with Jones. Jones is the best King's Indian player, other than Hikaru, I guess. Yeah, dude, I remember Kramnik match was awesome. So d5, and now the question is, I don't know which is better, a5 or knight a6 for black. Well, I've kind of like given up on playing this stuff, man. I mean, c6. I played c6 against Galyash, didn't I? The c6 a6 approach I've played against you too. I mean, I think this is a kind of sensible thing to do for black. A sort of Soltis setup where we don't really commit ourselves. You have like all the wins in this variation against me. Well, I just don't like committing to a5. You know, I think it's dangerous. I can't remember what I played against Galyash though. There's Fedoseev. He's another good player, but not to be confused with this guy. Yeah, okay, anyway, e5, d5, a5. This is like old school way to play it. You know, originally the first attempts for black were like doing knight h5. And that was rejected by g3. I thought, yeah, there's like no time, right, for queen e8. Because of bishop e2. I mean, this is what happens when like noobs play white. I'm sorry, when noobs play black. I just say the opposite of what I intend to say. It's early onset dementia. g4. And now, yeah, I don't like this for black, but it's like you got to know what you're doing. Korobov. I don't want to play this with black, man. I was playing this like really retarded guy like 4 years ago in the Budapest Team Championship. I won't name any names, but he's like totally got like OCD and he's just like really weak. And I got like a totally lost position after 15 moves with black. And my only defense was like offer a draw, and he took it. I was like, oh my god. My only chance to not lose this game was literally like offering a draw. He takes it in like a +3 position. The g4 is good, knight a6, and now, see, I wasn't sure here. I mean, I'm out of my depth now, especially with limited experience playing, especially white. I told you guys I lost to Dlugi. I lost to Dlugi once, where Dlugi Max played c6 a6 against me, type of thing. Now f3, I was surprised by f3. f3 is not a normal move. You think h5 is best? Like, where? Where do you want h5? Oh, after g4? That's not been played in any of these like master level games. I mean, I guess the point is you don't have to release the tension, release the Kraken. You don't have to release the tension, you don't have to close it, and you don't have to take on h5. You could play bishop e2 or f3. f3 h4. No, f3 h4, bishop g5, you're sacking a pawn. I don't know if black can play h4. I mean, you might just lose a pawn. There's also this. I mean, I don't know if we can do this, you know? You just bishop e2 is probably better than f3. And that pawn is gone. Maybe that kind of thing would work better if you had like knight a6 instead of a5 or something. Or the queen could come out or something like the queen a5. No, there's got to be a reason. Nobody's played h5 here. Yeah, bishop e2. Bishop e2 is too strong, bro. Not f3. Bishop e2. You have an active threat. You keep f3 for the pieces, and black doesn't want to open the h-file. No. Knight e6, f3. You know, now he could play h5, theoretically. No, there's no high-level players with white in this position because nobody plays f3. That still doesn't make it easy. Black has to be accurate. I'm kind of like wondering about c6 at some point. You know, another thing is that sometimes black plays knight f d7. But I feel like that works better where black hasn't played a5 somehow. Maybe you could do like knight f d7, knight a c5, and then like knight b6. So now you transposed. But it's not clear if this is a Samish or it's probably Makhaganov. You transposed a bunch of games where white has actually lost or not scored that well, but the score overall is very good. Look at that. The top games are bad, but overall white has a tremendous score here. Yeah, queen d2 or knight on g to e2. I don't know. I like developing with knight on g to e2 with the idea of I like that with the idea of knight g3, h4, etc. Maybe now h5. Well, I mean, I think like if you play h4, they're gonna play h5, right? Abu Saeva. Sorry, Asubayeva. I'm really dyslexic. Wow. Asubayeva. Abu Saeva. Who the heck is Ferreira? Wow, a 24.99 Portuguese player. Abu Saeva. I want to have an MMA fighter as my like personal bodyguard too. I would be, if I could have like an MMA fighter as my personal bodyguard, I would be like 2,500 as well. I mean, seriously. That was freaking me out. The guy was like scary. Anyway, never send your daughter to a tournament without a Chechen MMA bodyguard. So, what are we gonna do? No, I like developing, bro. And now black's best move is c6? Possibly. I mean, this creates some distraction in a lot of cases where he can open the C file. So it's not all or nothing on the king side. But this is an issue, right? Like, Because he played knight fd7, now he can't play c6 without sacking a pawn like one of my recent simul opponents. I don't know if you saw that, Schumacher, but like 2 weeks ago I had this game where the guy literally like played c6. I took his d pawn, and I lived to tell the tale, you know. So maybe it's like you need to play c6 now. You see, your h5's been played, knight e8's been played. That's very passive, though. Knight e8 is super passive. I feel like c6 is the right idea. Let's see, no, knight g3, and then cd5. One player played e takes d5, which is unusual. C takes d5, c takes d5. But this is a Mr. Slow like killed me in a game, man. I want to see Schumacher versus Mr. Slow showdown on the stream in the Makaganov. I think Mr. Slow knows it better than this guy. I keep forgetting his name. I think he's Fedoseev. Bishop takes b5. Kovalev. Black has b5s. The good thing about f3 is that you've overprotected e4, so he can never do like pawn sacks with b5. He has to prepare b5. So now he can't play c6. You play queen d2. And where the hell is Black's counterplay here? Okay, one thing that we would do in the same-ish is like bishop f6. Can he try this? He can't do that, can he? Like here? Can you sack a pawn with h4? That's too crazy, right? And g5 may be the best move. I don't know. What do you guys think about bishop f6? It's an interesting try. You know, maybe you would have done like knight g3 or something. You could castle. Still, I think like if g5, I wouldn't know where to put my bishop either. I think that Black needs to seriously consider putting it on e7. But the computer is not real thrilled about Black's position or the King's Indian in general. But what does this guy do? He plays f5. I'm like, you're gonna get ripped a new one, bro. To be fair, like this is the other game. I had a very similar game with White where I actually lost against an opponent who played similarly. But I don't think this is right. You know, it seems to me the time I lost on the white side of the Makaganov, my opponent had something like knight e8 and f5, and there it makes a little more sense because at least like the bishop like can like capture on f5 and stuff. You know, I don't think f5 and knight d7 necessarily go together. But there is another possibility. After queen d2, this is a standard maneuver, is it not? Attacking here. Then you would have time for knight g3. Maybe there he plays bishop f6, threatening this. So. He does this though. I don't trust f5. I mean, it looks like you're gonna like lose the light squares for Black here. So g takes f, g takes f. Exactly. Do you remember? There was the game where like Naka got crushed by Kramnik in the King's Indian. But I don't remember what line it was. Was it a Petrosian system? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Kramnik versus Naka. It was some kind of like, what's up, Doros? But I mean, okay, like the question is, like, if you take on f5, does he have Is he ever going to have anything, with counterplay? Oftentimes in the Makaganov, like if black plays f4, you can take on c5 and then play like bishop h3 to trade off your bad bishop. But here he has another knight that can capture. If he plays f4, well, it's your turn, so you're not going to let him. You took. All right, now black to play. The e4 square looks bad. I don't understand what black's doing here, It looks very dangerous. But he goes back to f6. Now there's the g file. But he's starting to take this guy, but you just go knight g3. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really understand what black is doing. And I think that's the point, like, he doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, what is happening here? Unless he has e4 or something dramatic, he's in trouble. What? I would be, like, shitting myself with black in this position. At least in a serious situation. It looks like you have the perfect position now. So knight f6 doesn't really make sense, but I don't understand how he can play f5. I just don't see it. If he goes here and you go knight g3, well, he's just never going to play f5. But I don't think he can play f5, Like, it looks like he could have played f5 if he had gone here. And then we saw this, right? By the way, what about knight g3 there? Now bishop f6, same-ish, you see, like same-ish King's Indian maneuver. There's a lot of parallels to the same-ish King's Indian because you've played f3. Yeah, I don't think his setup is legit, though. I think this is a fail. f5 doesn't work here. Takes, knight f6. I don't know if black has a good move after pawn takes pawn. But maybe there's something crazy. Queen h4. I mean, once in a while I will see moves like this. Check. Bishop f2. This is just too dangerous, though. His queen is done. His queen is in a very bad place here. So I don't think that works. And now he's basically lost, as far as I can tell. But like, why? Maybe just rook takes pawn? Tooks. The tooks, oh, it's like a Hobbit thing. Tewksbury. Dan Quisenberry. Tewksbury, Massachusetts. Yeah, but I mean, this is not good. Rook, I'll give you a hint. Astrobate learned this in the Astrobate learned this the hard way in the Czech Benoni, but like rook takes f5 is never good. Black has opened up the king side, but he's castled there, white's not, And it's like, you don't need to be like Viktor Korchnoi to identify the fact that the whole king side is like weak on the white squares. You don't really need to calculate to sense the strategic situation here, that black is in deep shit. White's going to castle queenside, and the white squares are really bad. You what? Say what? Oh, f4? No, but there's no f4. Nobody needs f4. You're just like killing him, man. You're not worried about your f3 pawn, are you? I don't think that really means anything. I mean, the important thing is that you're going to like brutally like kill him on the king side. I mean, you could possibly play f4, but I mean, why? Why do you need to? I would just castle queenside, I think you're like winning here. I mean, the f3 pawn really doesn't matter too much. I don't know that black can defend this position. It looks really, really bad. If he can, maybe if he's a computer. But he has no counterplay. It doesn't matter if you lose your f3 pawn. It just costs him time, and probably like the f file will even be another avenue of attack for you. I think if you hadn't taken an f5, he might be inclined to play f4. So this is good. This is good, this is good. Now he's lost. He's just lost. He doesn't have any kind of counterplay. I mean, e4 is like a disaster as well. He can't do e4. He doesn't have b5. a4 doesn't really do anything. I mean, maybe he should play a4 at some point and hope for some kind of cheapo with like knight b3 check. But bishop d7 isn't a solution, and now he has no solution. You're playing a really good, a crushing Samish King's Indian here, is what this is. Black needs to try to get counterplay. Rook g8 doesn't help. You know, what does this do? I don't think there's any way to save Black's position, honestly. If you're 2,700 or 2,000 or 1,500, you know, I think Black's... This is why I don't play the e5 variations of this line, man. It's just too easy for Black to get crushed. Rook g8 is hopeless. And then, yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of good moves here. I mean, I'm actually skeptical of this move, but I mean, I'm sure it's not bad. I would think you'd have better moves here, no? Like bishop g5, h5 maybe. Here. So he tries to take the pawn. I mean, what's going on with like c5? I mean, basically he has not a lot of options. You're threatening also knight g5. So you just took here. Now, you know, like the only way, I mean, the only way that Black could get any counterplay would be on this diagonal, but he needs to play e4. You played bishop h3. I mean, this is clearly not the only move. I mean, the materialistic player is going to be inclined to play bishop takes c5. I think it's probably an option, but first of all, he might have this. But I still don't think he has enough counterplay. What's happening after bishop takes c5? It's the best move according to the engine. Alright, yeah, you could simply take this. You played bishop h3, which is a good exchange of bishops, but, you know, honestly, why not this one? I don't think, you know, this is an offer he can refuse. Maybe he can play like queen d7 or something, but Black's completely lost here. So, in this case, I guess he could play like bishop g6. It might be better than what he did, to be honest. You're probably winning the exchange, though. Here, here, here. It's funny, like, he can't possibly, like, you know, skewer you with the bishop h6. There's no way he can ever protect h6. Okay, after bishop f8, queen f8, he's threatening bishop h6. That is kind of odd. Like, how would you get out of that pin? Like, say he plays b6 and you take this, and he takes, like, how do we get out of the threat of bishop h6 now? It's an issue. There's nowhere to go, and we're going to have to give him back the exchange, probably. Like, queen h2, bishop h6, rook d2 or something. Ironically, like, you're probably still better here. Okay, the computer says it's equal. I still think it was simpler to go here, you know. This worked out okay. I mean, I I think, queen d7 first might make a little more sense. And now you took the pawn. So does he have bishop h6 now? I didn't notice it the first time I played through this when you sent it. I don't understand how like a GM who's 2700 doesn't see this tactic with like a minute. He must have been really depressed though. Playing in 1956, he probably was like, oh my god, who is this computer? If he plays bishop h6, oh, I'm having hallucinations? No. You just trade and go back, right? You don't want to sack the exchange here. You just have to trade and then play bishop e3, and you're just up a clear pawn. Alright. You're a g-flat. Yeah, he tries e4, but I mean rook a6. Where's his queenside attack? He has no pawns involved. So this just exchanges a lot of stuff. And Schumacher just ends up in a simply pawn up, essentially winning endgame. Most likely you could also do like rook takes, I would assume. What is that? Someone's challenging me. Ugh, not that again. Check, check here. Now, no challenges, guys. We're taking subscriber games for analysis. Is this a winning rook ending? See, the thing is, you got c5 and d6, but now black played rook g2. But again, Grandmaster, I don't know too much about him, but obviously, b6 needs to be considered. Of course this is a blunder. You're like Mr. Pass Pawn here. It's so simple, like c5, d6, and your rook is behind the passed pawn. I think rook g2 is a blunder. I mean, b6 is a relatively passive move, but it's not easy because he's already played a5. You can't just play like a3 and b4 that quickly. And if you play a3, he might have a4. So it's complicated still. This is really a logical move, but it's not in this position because it's just too simple. Bam! Now what's he going to do? His king is not in the square of the pawn. He needs to be inside this. He needs to be inside the square of the pawn. I'll consult with our expert endgame player Nedog to verify. But I think that black is not in the square of the pawn. And like what happened in the game, well, here he like lost more time. And this is what does that do? What the hell did that do? And it's one thing, if it was just an average player, but he's 2700. Like FIDE reached 2700. You gotta have some good endgame technique. I mean, king up or king over, d6, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. The problem is we're not in time. We're not in time. So I'm not sure that black can save the game in any way, but after this, there's no sense losing a tempo, like moving our rook laterally. If our king can't get there in time, then we have one option. It's really awkward for black because bringing his king up blocks his rook's ability to come back. So his only option essentially would be like a retreat with the rook, try to physically blockade. So rook g7, d6, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, rook d7. King up, king up, king up, king up, king up. Here, I don't know if you're winning or not. see. No, this is a draw. Yeah, so you could definitely like screw this up. You got to be accurate now. So it's like king up here on the queen side, and then you have threats to grab this pawn. You could easily go wrong. Look at this. If you play king e3, suddenly the evaluation drops. And here you're actually not winning anymore. So you have to do the right thing with the king. Go to the queen side. If he hadn't played a5, you know, I mean, if you put that pawn back on a7, I think there's maybe some hope for black. But the fact that his pawn is on a5 is that's why, you know, you never want to play a5. One versus what? Wet waffle. One versus one me. Well, I'm interested in gaining 5 gift subs. But this is a subscriber analysis stream. Never take candy from strangers. That's what my parents told me. Anyway, man. So you got the end game. Let's see. That's what happened. Oh, ironically, that's what happened, right? So we got here. Tempo loss. Waste of time. Another tempo loss. He comes back. And now he's blockading on the 8th rank. You did the right thing with your king, though. You don't need to be Spike Lee here to win this. Yeah, game over. Good game, man. You took out of 2,700. 3-0. Nice win. Okay. Uber driver. Do we have an Uber driver? That's a nice win. So I don't feel so bad about all those games I've lost against Schumacher. He can beat the odd 2,700 in 3-0. I still think you're a sandbagger. He probably reported your ass for being a cheater. Don't be surprised if your account gets banned. Asterbait is negotiating. This whole thing is rather vague. I'll be right back. I'll be back. We're on break for 2 minutes. I'll be back. Alright, I'll be back. How goes it? Alright, Uber driver. So what do you want to do? Uber driver game or Asterbait? Do we have any other game submissions from the subscribers? Dr. Trip Chance. Hi, my arch nemesis. Dr. Trip Chance, who's your arch nemesis? I'm your arch nemesis? I hope not. Uber driver. Uber driver's not here. But he was playing black in our arena. Oh, this is the old one. This is the... Wait, this is not from our arena. This was just a random game. He's playing the Kraken. Release the Kraken, Nedog. Guys, don't forget, donate, support the stream. Donate, support the stream. Where's Mr. Slow? He's not here. We don't have a game submission for Mr. Slow. Yeah, if I close the window, it's too hot. I think I'm sick. Alright. I checked my temperature earlier. I don't have any fever. I do have a cold, though. Some kind of new cold. So this is Uber Driver playing the Kraken. Release to Kraken! Sidney Powell. Likely the Kraken won't actually face jail time. Sadly. She'll be cooperating with prosecutors. E4, D6, D4, Knight F6. Knight C3, and now A6, and now F4. One of the most aggressive moves at White's disposal. So this seems to be White's best move against the Kraken. The proper Kraken. And now Uber Driver sent me this. This is bad, actually. He played a bad move here. Uber Driver's like trying to play the Pirc C5 variation. He's trying to play the C5 Pirc with A6. You can't afford that, you know. This costs too much time, man. Holy shit. Basman actually played this. Oh my god. The correct approach here, in my experience, is to play E6. Sebe has played, my friend Attila Sebe, and I think Martin Merba have played B5 in a bunch of games. B5 is really risky. It's like B5, E5, B4. This variation is shaky. See, this is what a lot of these guys who are playing this in the past have tried. But I looked at these games and like, you know, Black's position is really shaky. So I came up with the idea of, well, I mean, it's been played already, E6. I mean, it looks weird, but Fries Nielsen and Chichak have played it already. And what Fries Nielsen did was really strange. He has a game where he played Knight F3, B5. Against Johnny Hector, he won with E5, Knight FD7. And this is not the Kraken. This is like mentally insane Kraken. You know, like you're really... This is just pushing the envelope of sanity. You know, this is going really too far. This is Tony Miles level of like insane asking for it, you know. He managed to beat Johnny Hector though, which is impressive. So I think E6 is the best. You could gamble with some kind of like, you're asking for it again. I don't trust this. And that's about it. A D5 is a weird move, and I also don't trust that. It looks like D5, E5. You play a kind of Brooklyn variation here. Brooklyn variation of the Aliakin. This is pretty bad, though. No, I think that E6 is the way to go. You gotta play E6. B5 is risky. But this is like Michael Basman, the G4 guy. Basman is most famous for A3, A6. You know, the Grob, the killer Grob with black, or the Borg, or whatever. But I just don't get how this works, you know. It looks like white has pawn takes pawn, and it's just good for white. But his opponent played E5, which maybe not quite as good. Afek played D takes C and lost. This must have been like, man, I don't know. How old was Michael Basman in 1979? They were young then. Afek's still around. Basman just died, sadly, last year or early this year. I can't remember. I never met him, but I don't think this flies. This endgame is a catastrophe, so... You know what I think objectively Black's best move here is? Possibly like knight to c6, just like sacrificing a pawn. But I wouldn't really recommend trying this at home. If we hadn't played a6 and we played something like g6 instead, maybe it would be a little better. But overdrive, this is not correct. So you played c5 and the guy goes e5, but this is good too for white. Yeah, sadly overdrive is not here. We never know when he'll be here and when he won't. I mean, if you play pawn takes e5, I guess. Well, this is an option to play pawn takes pawn, no? Is that necessarily worse? I mean, there's this, I guess. But I think the endgame might be, like, not that bad for black. So overdrive does this, and then if pawn takes f6, pawn takes c3, maybe it's not that bad for black. But I don't know, man. I don't really trust queen takes d4. It feels like after this, black has a good game. So if you're going to play e5 here with white, I think after c takes d4, you got to come up with a better move. I don't know what our options are, really. It's really just take. You know, like you have to take, but how do you follow up here? Do we take on e7? Wow, this is terrible for white. Wow, it's really bad. So the computer just hates e5. That's shocking, though, that e5 is that bad. It's shocking it's that bad, you know. But this is a total scam. I mean, after d takes c5, white has a huge advantage. Yeah, the best move is knight c6. This is what I figured. Not what Basman did. Like, queen a5 is not good enough. I had a game where I tried to do this, and the computer went, like, off. There's queen d5, you know. Pawn takes. He played e takes d6. Wow. Okay, so the idea is this. That's a standard motif. Yeah, this is the best. But I mean, why are you putting your queen on a5 then? You know, what did the bringing of the queen out to a5 accomplish? Bishop d3, knight c6. It's a completely arbitrary move, you know. If Basman isn't lucky, I think white is clearly better. You're better off just sacking a pawn like this. You get the same thing. You could play like queen a5 if you wanted to, but queen a5 is dubious. But this is bad. Here, knight c6, queen e3. This is gonna lose a pawn for white. Plus, you know, what's the best square for the queen now? Queen protects pawn. It reminds me a little of the Smith-Morra or something. Obviously very different in a way, but the sort of situation where we could trade queens on d8 with check. Looks like white's just in trouble, though. There's no queen e4. Queen a4. Just, I don't know about queen a4. You'd probably take and play knight d5, but you could go for door number 2. For example, like take here, trying for more. That's kind of greedy, you know. I think that this looks safe and sound for black. Safe and sound. But he plays this, and now pawn takes pawn, and then materialist strikes with knight g4. Not the only option. Yeah, I mean, knight g4 feels materialistic again. This is okay too. Knight d5, knight d5, queen d5, knight f3. We have a decent game, I would assume. I mean, you don't have to be materialistic with black. Percy Hepworth, welcome. Dr. Tripchance. Thank you for the gift sub, Percy Hepworth. No, it wasn't a gift sub. It was subscribes at tier 1. Subscribes on a 1-month streak. Subscribes for 6 months. Only 6 months. That's weird. Percy Hepworth. They subscribe. You've only subscribed. You must have another account or something. You've subscribed more than 6 months in the past, haven't you? Feels like it anyway. You have a different Twitch account, maybe? You're splitting it up between the two. It's a great Twitch channel. Thanks. Nidog agrees. Used to be Percy Hepworth. Okay. So my question is Uber Driver being too materialistic here with knight to g4? It's a really obvious move, and I'm sure it's not bad. But I feel like white might somehow have enough development to kind of pull this off now. He does have to watch c2. And this doesn't look good because of knight d4. So he finds this square, which actually looks good at first sight. Now, oh, queen b6, interesting cheapo. Uber Driver's whole game is based on cheapos. Damn. Interesting that Uber Driver decides not to take the pawn here with knight takes e5, which is what everyone expected. But my argument was that if he does this, white has pretty serious compensation now. Queen d4 would be your pick. Oh, you're ganging up on the pawn and trading queens. You're not peeking at the engine, are you? Well, queen d4 also has some invasive queen f2 ideas. Yeah, that's a move that Uber Driver could have played. If he does queen d4, if you do queen d4, he trades and plays bishop d3, and then black takes the pawn, and it's this is not good for white, obviously. Yeah, queen d4 is a good choice. It's probably better than queen b6. Now knight h3. And now g6, double threat. Some ideas of bishop f5, some ideas of getting up on this pawn, but what about knight d5? What happens if knight d5 here? What are we doing? Now we've got to ask ourselves the question, why the hell did we put our queen on b6? So white really misses an opportunity here with knight d5. That's an issue, you know. You're not going to start with a personal body modifications, are you, Nedog? Again. Do we consider your vasectomy a body modification? I bet your insurance company doesn't pay for body modifications. You can talk to the doctor about it. You guys both have issues. So knight h3, g6. Looks like white was getting out of it had he played knight d5 there. One move threat. This is kind of a big deal. I mean, now you have knight to b4. But you found another move. Okay, so I mean, it's just white missed his one opportunity to get out of this, really, with knight d5. What's going on here? It's not getting out of it. Wow. Black's still better after queen d8. Damn. That's impressive. I thought that white would be okay now. The engine doesn't agree. Okay, relatively okay. Well, he's going to lose a pawn at the very minimum. But I still think in a practical game, white has chances to sort of stagger on here. But maybe the knight's falling. The knight is like falling and it can't get up. Check out this variation. We can't win the knight. Oops. No good place to move the knight. Knight f4, man. Too many problems for white, no? So even knight d5 wouldn't save him. Yeah, but I mean, this Basman thing isn't good enough. I mean, as amusing as this game was, we're really going in the depths of unsoundness here with c5. And I think that Uber Driver knew that. This looks like one of Astorbate's submissions now. An impractical decision to trade queens. What are we up, a bishop? We got it under control. Rook b8. Rook b8. Just don't forget, man. What Nick D told me. Pawns should protect pawns, not pieces. Alright, rook b8 is kind of awkward. But we're up a piece, we can afford a little bit of awkwardness. Oops, thanks for that pawn. Thanks for the rook. Yeah, this is over. Okay. Yeah, this is not Astorbate's game. We don't need to teach Uber Driver how to win, like, up a piece or two pieces. Okay, I don't know if he even really intended to submit that game, to be honest. Like, he sent me the game, and I'm not sure if he actually intended it to be a submission to the stream or not. Maybe he just wanted to show me, like, a Kraken because he thought it was funny. It wasn't necessarily a great game. Azerbayeva. Oh, shit. New women's blitz champion, Azerbayeva. Do you have an MMA fighter as your personal bodyguard and chaperone? Azerbayeva? Uber, when the knights fell. Yeah, that was like Michael Basman style. We're not recommending Michael Basman style play here. I like to tone it down a little bit, you know, from the Michael Basman, Fries Nielsen level. So we're trying to be creative without going too far in the Kraken. Asterbate is black. Oh, this is old school Asterbate. See, that's why I like the Kraken. And the Franco Kraken, for example, like e6, bishop c4 is even better. I like to play a6 here. I mean, seriously. I'm serious. In the Caro-Kann, we can't do that. You know what I mean? If I play the Caro-Kann and they play the hillbilly attack, I'd feel like an idiot playing a6 here, right? In the French defense and they play bishop c4, I'm not such an idiot. You know, I don't mind a6. It's not that I'm trying to like trick them into the Noah's Ark trap or something. But I really hate these structures, honestly. Like pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. I want to kill myself already. Probably white's best move here might be bishop e2. Michael Basman's Crowwood Press Openings Primer book is superb and sensible. You know, Percy Hepworth, you're from the UK. And so you have better, you know, or more exposure to Michael Basman. I mean, I know that he's famous for the weird openings, but he was later like lauded for being a great, like, you know, scholastic coach, or, you know, he did a lot of chess for kids and stuff. So I don't really know that aspect of him. Just because he was crazy with the weird openings doesn't mean he didn't, he was a legitimate IM. It wasn't mean he was recommending people play stupid stuff. Yeah, I think bishop b2. So my point would be I would think about a6 or something. Not necessarily being overt about the d5. So what I'm bringing us to is this. Astrobate on bishop c4. I think the most principled move you see here is e6. And we've talked about this before. But if you want an alternative, there's the possibility of a6. I've had people go here, and it's like, what you talking about, Willis? Probably my favorite continuation of all time. Take a deep breath. Ready? Bishop takes f7 check. King f7. Queen h5 check. And then g6. Queen takes c5. Yeah, that really happened in a blitz game. But so what I'm getting at. Wow, Gunther Heidel. Oh wow, he's old school. A6 Gunther. I really need to work on my German pronunciation. I apologize in advance if you're German or any other language that I screw up. You actually got different strokes in the UK? I didn't know that. That's interesting. I don't think it made it to Eastern Europe. Alright. But actually, why play g6 here? You're just you're better off playing e6. And I like a6. g6 is the worst, though, because you justify bishop c4. There's two moves that justify bishop c4. g6 and d6. Everything else is really good. Now, Bielak lost in 1971 to a 24-10. Jesus. Well, I choose to play d6, though. Alright, g6, here we are, queen f3. Yeah, how many games does Astrobate have in this position? You guys want to guess? Just Riddle? Thanks for the gift sub the other day. Does anybody want to wager how many games Astrobate has played from this position as black on Lee Chess? It's like the counting the beans in the jar thing, when you go to a party and it's like a kid's party, you have to guess how many pieces of bubble gum are in the jar. How many pieces of bubble gum are in the jar? 430. I'm gonna guess it's somewhere in between those two. I think 400 is too much, and 30 might even be too low. I'm gonna go with 47. Something tells me 47. But I may be off base here. I got you guys. The chess riddle didn't mean the 400 for real. He said 30 legit guess, and Mr. Coffee says 737. No, I say 47. Just 47, not 747. 737. 47. Let's see. Player, Astrobate. There it is. As black. Boom. Ooh! No. 79. 79. Mr. Coffee, is this the Price is Right? You said 737. Chess Riddle said 30. Nelog said 69. Nelog, with a late guess, was 69. Did he get it in before the bell? I said 47. It's actually 79. He's played d5 here. I remember that. Yeah, I saw it. I didn't. I may have unconsciously communicated with you in my dreams or something, Chess Riddle. I had a weird dream last night. Some interesting stuff in it that was kind of random. Slad versus Acerbate. So knight d5 is really I'm sorry, d5 is, we talked about that. That's too much, bro. Around midnight UK time. Nah. It was someone else. It was the Babadook trying to talk to you. I only communicate telepathically in the early morning hours. Alright. Knight f6 is possible. Knight f6, e5, d5. It's funny, he's never played knight f6. After all that. This is the one legit move that you haven't tried. And then here the question is, like, do you interpose the bishop or do you interpose the knight? I guess you have to interpose the bishop. Actually, either way sacks a pawn, but you know, I think that black has very good compensation here. This is an interesting position. The computer claims a sort of microscopic edge for white, but it's imbalanced. So as to be, maybe for your next game, you try knight f6. This is sure to, like, drive them crazy. After knight f6, e5, d5, should be 5 check. We're dropping a piece here. We don't have any options. Knight f6 is kind of a provocative move. I mean, e6 is best. That's what you played. This is what you played. I mean, queen f3 is a travesty for white, though. White actually has a good game after normal moves. You know, knight f3. White has a good game in this line. The point is, like, c3 and d4. I even have a game here with Shandor Farago Shandor. If you want to see, I played this position. Wow, that's weird. Just a Turco game. My position was different. That's weird. I'm having hallucinations now? Oh, that's weird. It was a different position somehow. Weird. Okay, I'm confusing it. Alright, so confusing myself with Turzo Attila. E6, b3, interesting move. Provoking bishop g7, and then c3. Wow, he really showed you. He showed you who's boss. There, Acerbate. Yeah, I mean, I guess white just shouldn't play b3. Not much to see there. b3 just is not a good move for white. He needs to continue to play a normal kind of closed Sicilian. Possibly like c3 or something, but with b3 not an option. Now you're better. You're threatening knight e5. And white just ignores it. This is a really bad game by white. Now, basically, we would normally play this, but you're not developing, are you? And he's got this. So ask me, what do you think? Just like 97? And I think just 97, and you face plant him on the next move. This is provocative, though. You played d5. How does this work? Here we go again. I mean, how does it work? Does it work? How does it work? If it does work, I want to know how it works. Pawn takes pawn, queen takes pawn. I guess the big question is why? Why would you do this? Pawn takes pawn, knight e5, bishop e5 check, bishop d7. He doesn't even have to defend. His bishop's defended on b5. So this is weird. Okay, like what did we get? What did we get for this d5? Now he makes a stupid move. Actually, it's probably a stupid move. It's not the stupidest move I've ever seen, but I mean, you know, objectively, the queen should be on g3. You want to keep the queen where it's relatively well protected, but okay, you could play pawn takes pawn there. It's true. Maybe he does have to play this. Maybe he does. Maybe it's not stupid. Maybe this makes sense. He plays queen e4, he keeps d5 protected, and then, but he also had bishop e5 check, obviously. What did you intend here? Interesting question. I mean, were you planning something weird? You wouldn't play this, would you? Like king f8 by Tony Miles? Miles of Isles? The provocative king f8 in the Sicilian, like a dragon. Miles like played it in a famous game against somebody years ago. I forget who it was. And some kind of weird dragon move order. But queen, we're going to be able to take back on d5. King f8 is not so bad. Alright, he does this, you take. f5 is just weakening. No, interesting move here. You could play knight takes c4. And garner his wages. James Garner. And the idea would be like after knight c4, you could play knight f6, double attack. Still a very strange position. I think black's clearly better. Alright, so what happened was you just did the obvious take back. He takes with the bishop, but why? Because he wanted to lose, obviously. No, he saw knight f6 doesn't work. What he didn't see was this other trick. But he could have taken with the queen. You know, that's what I was thinking. I mean, you have good compensation for your sacrificed nugget. But I'm not sure, like, it's game over. You also have this possible move. But white now can... You know, he can do like king move. Or maybe something else. Alright, so bishop takes here. Nice move. Bishop takes b7, I expect. Here's where you've got to show what you got, man. Show us what you got. I need to see what you got. I call. High card is not enough. Knight check is vague, you know. Not clear to me. I mean, the other problem is that f5 is just a one-move threat and white just simply checks you on a4. And now you're like you're down 2 pawns. You have a lead in development, but not clear again. So what's the best move? Bishop takes b7. So the best move, there's no traps. The best move is just trade bishops and castle. And black is clearly better based on development, despite the fact that he's down 2 pawns. Not that easy to know that, you know. But his opponent played c4, which is like, forget about it, dude. That's just not even an option. That move like loses 100 different ways. These guys are just too easy on you. Now you just want a piece for nothing. And you know, I don't mind this. Bishop d4. You could have just taken on a8. with a threat on here. I suppose this isn't so bad, and that's a really bad move. Yeah, take on e4 first. This is just brutal. I wouldn't trade that off either, but you're winning 100 different ways. It's just ugly. I think here, queen e7 with the idea of queen e1 mate looks kind of nasty. But he'll squeak away with like g3. There's no forced mate here. I would be very surprised if there was a forced mate in less than 10 in this position. The queen on f3 sort of mops up all the mates. Yeah, there's no forced mate for black here. The queen is preventing any kind of possible mates on the light squares. And that's cute. Now, not so much. Alright. So what was your center pawn loss in that game, Masturbate? Morales versus Ecobra. Alright, thanks for the resub from Percy Hepworth. Waffle has followed, issuing a challenge. Guys, don't forget I'm leaving next week. Bullshit, said Asterbate. I had lag so bad it froze and I missed all the fun. Oh no. May I ask for a review of my game from last night? Yeah, you can send me the game. Someone has to gift sub Chess Riddle. Yes, you may. Send me a game. I'm going to do the Morales game. Man, I don't know. I think I've got something. I've got a cold. I better not get sick for the World Senior. Just had a cold last week. I don't understand how I get 2 colds. No Joke says, we're having some technical difficulties. Adding teams to the tournament. They should be resolved soon. I was wondering, they sent me this message about the Monday team battle, and then like there was no one in the list. I thought that was kind of odd. Ecobra. So Morales is always complaining about like sudden death and stuff. What is this, 3+2? Wow, 3+1. Oh, what am I doing? Alright, Morales with a 3+1 game. Why the stupid time controls? Why not play real chess? Morales has no time. They must work him to death. I don't know what he does, but he just doesn't have time to play chess. If you guys have time, if you do have time, then, you know, use it wisely and try to play. Well, Chess Riddle submitted an ECF game, but I mean, obviously if you can play over the board, that's the best. If you can't play long games or at least rapid chess over the board, then try to play something longer than 7+3, 10, 15, 30 minutes. Because this kind of time control, to be frank, like anything like 5 minutes or faster is kind of bordering on a waste of time. In my free time, I play like 5+3 games. That would be the minimum, I think. There's really no sense in playing faster than 5+3. Chess Riddle just gifted tier 1 sub to Miro BTW. That's an interesting choice. Specialiste, play 10+0. Yeah, I think 10+0 is pretty much the same as 5+3. But pretty much, I like saying pretty much, apparently. Almost all over the board tournaments are now with increment, so I think you're better off playing 5+3 than 10+0, for example. Well, 5+3 is much faster. Okay, let's say 7+3. 7+2, you know, something like that. I would prefer to 10+0. 5+5, you know, some kind of like medium time control with an increment rather than the sudden death, because the game goes to hell at the end because of no increment. If you ever play over the board, it's going to be with increment in most cases. Chess Riddle also just subscribed for 2 months. Chess Riddle, are you streaming as well? Alright. Okay, no. I mean, I don't mean like this minute, I mean in general. Dr. Tripsant says what? In 2020, when I was trying to get back in shape chess-wise, I started doing blitz. Here we go. Alright. I mean, dude, Dr. Tripsant, nobody in the world, even like Kramnik, is going to argue that blitz doesn't improve your play like tactically. But the point that I'm making, you understand the point that I'm making. Like, it's better for you if you can play longer games, to play longer games. It's not like, well, blitz is useless. Alright, I did make a comment that it was practically a waste of time. To be fair, you can improve your tactics, but if you have the option to play longer games, you should. Anyway, alright. So Chess Riddle does stream. That's my question. I'm a little bit, I don't know, I don't feel right. I have this weird cold. I'm kind of foggy headed tonight. It just started like 24 hours ago. Don't you love the sound effects? Oh, man. Alright, I'll be right back. Coming. I needed some fresh air, and we got a lot of street noise here. But not many ambulances. I have to change my ambulance emote, which is no longer relevant. Alright, so we're going to do Morales game. Chess Riddle, did you send me the game? Oh, you put the list. Oh, you put it over there. Alright. Can somebody grab Chess Riddle's link and send it to me in Lead Chess? Because I got it on my other machine. I can do it, but it would take me a minute to transfer it over. If someone can click that link and like send it to me on Lead Chess, I'd appreciate it. We'll add that to the study after this. I'm just like telling you guys I've got like this weird cold, so I'm a little weird, feeling a little weird. Okay, so this is Morales. He plays advanced range against the French. C3, knight c6, knight f3. This is all standard. Queen b6, main line. And then I was recommending this, and I tried it a little, the old Milner-Barry, but the Milner-Barry has been resuscitated using this like old idea of Johnny Hector. So let's see what happened here. Traditional Milner-Barry is like bishop d3, pawn takes d4, pawn takes d4, bishop d7, castles, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, queen d4, knight c3, queen e5, rook e1, queen b8, etc., etc. But this isn't. I mean, this has been like deeply analyzed to death, and it's really not that bad for black. So the concept is this Johnny Hector idea where after castles, like you don't take on d4. Basically, you can play like knight on bd2. No. I'm wrong actually. Even here, we don't take back on. My bad. We don't take back on d4 at all. We just like castle. Yeah. So here you're supposed to just castle. And again, this goes back to Johnny Hector games from like the 90s and stuff. But for some reason it was like overlooked for a long time. And it's actually better. It's better than the normal Milner-Barry for white. Notice the score. Black's problem is that even though he's up a pawn, effectively black can never really find a good way to like complete development and find a safe place for the king. It's like a long-term pawn sack where if black survives, with an extra pawn, he's probably winning, but it's not easy to survive. I just got 3 acerbate. Oh, 3 people sent me the same game. Thank you guys. Lots of compliant help from you guys. All right, so let's see. Morales played bishop d3, and now black doesn't play the standard move. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're supposed to play pawn takes pawn. It looks like after castles, the question is like what black should do here. And, well, you can see the games that there are here. Wade is winning all the top games. Nadir Beck has a draw. George Meyer won a game against Emanuel Berg back in 2015. But I thought that was funny because it's Emanuel Berg. But the irony is that Emanuel Berg plays the French. He played the French. Plays the French. And he played Johnny Hector's idea, and they're both from Sweden, It's like, there's a connection there. But this is really bad. He does knight on GD7. And so you take on C5. Yeah, the queen is like never placed well here. Someone actually played queen c7. Yeah, I mean, I think you take the pawn and take your chances here. Dr. Tits. Peter Wells got a kick of the pairing large versus Tits. That's an old story. Funny pairings. Funny pairings from British tournaments. Queen takes c5, bishop e3. And then queen a5 looks forced. And now White castles. I mean, the big question is like the b4, b5. I mean, Meyer is like a really interesting player. He's like a kind of Kramnik-like weaker version of Kramnik or something. Now, Kramnik doesn't play the French, though. But with white, he's very Kramnik-like. Queen a5. He's like minimalist. Very accurate. Queen a5, castles. Now knight f5. And obviously, yeah, I mean, we're going to take. I was wondering about one thing, okay, before we go to this position. If we play bishop e3, maybe that's not a gimme, Westerinen played castles. I mean, honestly, like, this is a very already late game for Westerinen, who's still alive, I believe, but he's really old. And he was always, like, kind of low rated for a GM. A creative player, but he does crazy stuff. But in 2010, I mean, Westerinen is, like, already, like, ancient, Now he's even more ancient. I don't know if he still plays, but haven't seen him at a senior tournament lately. What about b4, though, seriously? I mean, it seems to me like b4 kind of makes some sense. Yeah, Dr. Chance, you should get a room with Nedog and live your fantasies out together. I would assume, like, we don't necessarily want to put our bishop on e3 for white. b4 looks interesting. I mean, here, I'm just thinking, like, what would Bronstein do? Bronstein had a game like this, right? In his book, The Philosopher's Apprentice, or what's it called? Sorcerer's Apprentice, Philosopher's Stone, Sorcerer's Apprentice. Bronstein has a game like this. I mean, this is Nimzovich, too. It's not just Bronstein. I mean, Nimzovich is the master of was the master of the advanced French. And original, taking on c5, giving up the center for strong points. I think like b4 b5 is very dynamic. I'm not sure if this is definitely not bad. Is it as good as b4 b5? Here it feels like, our bishop gets hit, so we're like, now we're forced to make a concession. I'm sad to give up one of my bishops. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, bishop. And now black's pawn structure is compromised. But these types of positions are oftentimes defensible for black. So if he can play h6, I would assume that black has some defensive chances. So bishop e6 normally, followed by h6 and threats of g5. Instead he plays bishop e7. I would think Morales is an e5 square specialist, therefore overprotection with rook e1. Looks really good, but again, you're going to have to do something on like h6. It's possible white's like winning the d5 pawn, but that's not necessarily the only thing in this position. I'm honestly not sure that black should play queen d8 to be frank here. Black has different moves. What's happening on queen b5? I don't love it, but if a4, the first thing is black can sacrifice the pawn on d5 because it's an IQP anyway. It'll give him bishop e6. He'll have some kind of compensation. I don't know how much, but it's like his bishop is so bad he's almost not that sad to lose one of those light square pawns. This move bottles him up, though. He's got, no way to get his rook in the game. And c7 is actually developed versus d8 where it's not developed. Not to mention the possibility of this inducing a4 here. I don't see how you're gonna, punish his queen here. I do think that white has the possibility of bishop g5, though. I just want to, point this out in general, that in these advanced Frenches, the key idea for white oftentimes is to trade, in French in general, but is to trade off the dark square bishop. That's why black should seriously consider, as strange as it seems, probably h6, h6 absolutely controls g5. Whereas bishop e7 allows bishop g5 move. So it's possible h6 is actually better than bishop e7. With the threat of g5, white might need to play h4 to stop g5. And then black can have time to play bishop e7 and do what he wants. That's how I would probably play it if I was black. So this is an interesting possibility, but queen d8 is passive. Again, h6, okay, maybe it's not necessary here. I still prefer rook e1. Is black, it may be black starting g5 actually. Maybe queen d8 does have the benefit. We're controlling g5. That's an interesting concept. Black could literally unleash the kingside kraken. Not so stupid. I'm sure that white has his chances here because black's undeveloped. You got to watch for pawn stacks. Morales is very well aware of this kind of thing as well. He's definitely not the kind of player who who's going to miss his chance to sack a pawn and occupy the e5 square. Occupy Democrats. No, I mean, seriously, that's why black normally will put this bishop on e6 to blockade. The plan is bishop e6, h6, g5, let's go. You know, we're better. Black's probably better if he gets those moves in. If white's unable to stop g5, we can also hit him this way with the bishop exchange. So that's interesting. Black might need, in fact, time to play like b6 to keep him off of c5. Black doesn't have time for all that, objectively. Okay, but queen d3 is kind of a 3-minute move. Castles, rook d1, bishop e6, and now knight c5. But I mean, this is a Tarrasch. You see the parallels with the Tarrasch, right? The Tarrasch Queen's Gambit, too. Wow, this is a good move. Like, this might be a better move. Ultimately. That's oftentimes like the thing in the Tarrasch Queen's Gambit. One way leads to ops color bishops, the other way leads to two knights versus bad bishop and knight. Which is better, you know? Do you want to play an ops color bishop, or do you want to play with two knights against bishop and knight? I think that's the strategic question. So I'm not sure which one is better. I think you have to calculate. I feel like this is more sure. Long-term plan. Domination of d4. Bad bishop for black. If we go here, he's going to probably take, and then it's ops color bishops. And the question is, can that bishop break out? If I play like bishop d6, he can sack a pawn with d4 for just you know, for it can be tactically complicated, but let's just say like here, you know, this is not easy at all. To say like, well, white's up a pawn, white's winning. I mean, maybe this like loses a pawn, but you get my point. Ops color bishops is really dicey, whereas this is like way more sure for white. There's a lot of strategy involved in chess. Like I say, 99% of tactics don't work anyway, so you're better off just understanding strategic chess and know that, you know, and just get the tactics you need. So knight c5, he doesn't take. Okay, this is an interesting defense. He doesn't take. He plays this. Well, that's like kind of hope chess. Queen c7 is hope chess. We're like, oh, I hope he takes here. Yeah, this is basically why 3 minutes chess sucks. Well, Morales knows better than to fix this guy's structure, but he does it anyway because he has 3 minutes for the game. So we're knowingly like making a kind of bad move now. And I would say like at this point, black's fixed his structure, and white has a small advantage at best. I think in fact like you have to seriously consider c4 here. Probably it fails to the tactic knight b4. Not a tactic, but you know, one move threat, knight b4. So Morales like gave away most of his advantage. And then, you know, what do you got? What do you got, man? You've got a bad bishop, an active bad bishop. If you're lucky, you're not worse. Maybe you even have a tiny edge. But after this, bam. Yeah, well, knight g5, bishop g5, queen g3, queen g7 is a problem. Otherwise, knight takes g5 would work. This is a risky move for black, though. Like, he doesn't have to do this. You know what I mean? It's not like black is the safest player in the world. He miraculously equalizes, and now he's, like, playing for the win with a really, like, aggressive g5. Here, Morales locking down e5. c4, if you could get it in, might be a good break. But again, you can't get it in because of knight b4. Rook f7 looks reasonable. He wants to come to g7. Maybe black plays the French and the King's Indian. I never got that. You know, like people who play the French and the King's Indian, like Rajabov. Rajabov was always playing the French and the King's Indian. You have two openings that are completely like a different color complex. That's just weird. Morozevich didn't really play the King's Indian. You know, he played the French. But Rajabov with the King's Indian and the French? Really? Who played the King's Indian? What famous players played the King's Indian and the French? Tal. But Tal played a lot of different things. Bronstein, but Bronstein also played everything, and he was very creative. So here's b4. So suddenly we're like, screw you, you know. I'm going to grab space on the queen side. I don't know, man. Now black's going over here. We're going over here. We're both going to attack the enemy on our weaker side. He's fully in with h5. This reminds me of the other game when Morales lost with white a month ago. He submitted a game against someone from the stream. Yeah, Morales, welcome to the queen side, bro. But I'm thinking if black just chooses to not do anything on the queen side, like, it's hard for you to do anything. b6 isn't absolutely necessary. And now we play b5. And that's a problem. Because our knight is... Okay, he has knight b7. Yeah, now it's starting to look kind of unrealistic at this point. Like, starting here, okay. Putting his king on h7 on the diagonal with your queen. If we go back, like, I don't know, to move 17, black should probably, like, wake up, smell the coffee, and play some solid chess here. I would say. Take a totally different stance, you know. If you're going to play g5, you have to realize how risky this really is. But, you know, he just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes, and then he plays like king h7 onto the diagonal with your queen. That's weird. Now bishop f4. Now for the first time, we're actually looking at white playing on the king side as well. And knight now coming to d4. How did this all go wrong for black? 1 minute everything's fine, and the next minute he's like spatially screwed on both sides of the board. It's very interesting. Rook g7, and you start to wonder, like, what is black's plan here? To trade off his good bishop? No, I think knight f7. Okay. Nice knight on d4 you've got there. What would I do? Wow. Now you've got him tied up. And I was actually starting to think like Morales was going to break on the king side with h3. This is obviously kind of dangerous. You know, it's one thing if your king is on e2 and you've got a rook on h1 and you're starting action on the king side, but you kind of need to, yeah, you probably need to prepare that. I was thinking earlier c4. Not to overanalyze like 3-0 game. Now it looks like a really good advanced Caro-Kann. Can anybody answer me a question? The rook e3 that I used rook h3? Just answer me a question. Why is black... Well, I mean, why is black lost here? What happened? You know, failure to address control of the center, really. I mean, look what happened. Boom, 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 boom. Like all four central squares. This is like straight out of Lipnitsky. Botvinnik. Well, I mean, d takes c4 may be a mistake, but it's like... I don't think it's the big mistake. I think it's already gone south. The mistake was g5, f5, g4, h5, rook g7, living in a fantasy world, We are living in a... No, he's not a material player, but he's like living in a fantasy world. This guy is freaking lucky. Like, look how bad his opening was, and he got to this position. Morales fixes his structure with e takes f5. Sorry, he fixes the structure with knight takes c6. This guy is lucky to be alive at this point. And he's like basically okay. And instead of going crazy with g5 on the king side, if he did like a minority attack with, I don't know, rook b8 or something, b5, if he played for b5, b4, or just simply like, played sensibly on the queen side, if he freaking exchanges here, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, queen d7, I mean, this position, dude, white is better maybe, but I don't think so. Like, he just is overly optimistic. He made a lot of mistakes. But it was interesting the way that Morales handled this. Okay, maybe pawn takes pawn is a mistake. He can't play c5, and the threat of taking on d5 can be met by queen takes. So the best move for black is fill in the blank. There's also knight c6. So you can't go like knight f7 without getting blasted by knight c6. Game over. So basically your only option here then is rook c8. This is the only move, right? Rook c8, and we're still in the game. But how bad is knight takes f5? Ooh. See, I'm telling you, man, like, what kind of maniac puts his king on h7? I mean, seriously. I don't get it. Like, why king h7? Why not king h8? Did the king feel more lonely there or something? Like, because this diagonal is closed. Completely closed. I could see being paranoid, like a queen could end up on h6 or something. But seriously, given a choice between h7 and h8, so watch this. If you play rook c8, kablam, knight takes f5, that doesn't look good. I don't need an engine to know that this is not good news for black. Morales likes to do like really brutal stuff. Even if you want to be mean, like, you don't have to play e6 here. You could probably play like pawn takes pawn and just like torture your opponent instead. I'm serious, like, I don't like the look of this. This looks really bad. Perhaps black could hang on with some kind of crazy move like rook g6 or something, I don't know. Okay, you should play e6. This looks crushing, actually. But maybe black could somehow survive by giving back a piece, here. Queen takes check, queen g6. Queen g6, rook g6, pawn takes pawn, black can sack a piece back, try to survive somehow. Those two central passers coming down. But I assure you white is close to winning, if he's not winning. So basically my point is, Dr. Chip Chance, black's probably in deep shit anyway. d4, queen c4 here, queen b3, and now he played queen d5, but strategically black is lost because of white's coordination and control of the center. It's an interesting game how it transformed. And trading queens doesn't save you. I mean, obviously. The only point of this is that maybe you have like knight f5 doesn't even work. Knight f5, rook f7 is what I want to say. Yeah. But it doesn't save us. Kind of bad bishop though. But it's a good bad bishop. Black's structure is overextended. Black could survive if he got a really firm blockade of e6. I mean, if everything went right for black here, like he got his king to a really active square, his pieces coordinated, he could probably hold on. Rook a2. Maybe. White has back rank. And now we have this. So interesting decision. Getting rid of back rank weakness. Perhaps black should take on h3. But then we have, wow, connected passed pawns. This could get a little spicy though. Pawn takes pawn looks like black has some chances. This is a weird move. Looks like pawn takes pawn, legit chances. I don't want to lose control of the g4 square, and he's gonna lose that in some lines. I see. So at h4, how does that work? h4? What? Well, okay, this has got to be a mistake. He should definitely take here. I don't like the look of this. What is this? What is h4? Bishop takes h4? Okay. What's the problem? What happened to my blockader on e6? Alright, it's over. That was a fail. Not good, not good. No. Really? I was expecting f4 here. I think that looks like pretty much lights out. This is probably good enough. He trades rooks. We're still winning. No mate for you. You're close to checkmating him here. Probably. There's various ways to win. I don't think Morales picked like the most accurate. But 3 connected passed pawns is pretty good. That was definitely time. Mate. Okay. Yeah, interesting game. Okay, I've got the Riddler. There was this organizer from Pennsylvania when I started playing chess. I don't know if Mr. Coffee ever met him. Ira Lee Riddle. Made me remember that. He was like president of the Pennsylvania Chess Federation at one point. Oh, I remember I played some tournament in Philly like in the late 80s where I beat one of my first wins against a master was at one of his tournaments in Philly. I beat like 2200 when I was maybe around 1900. Get PGN analysis board. All right, we can do it this way. So this is a real game for a refreshing change. A real over-the-board chess game. So Riddle is black. All right. Why does it go away from there? All right. So this is Riddler. Riddler black. Riddle me this. I don't usually pay a lot of attention to my title, my annotation titles here, but just for sake of preservation. Riddler with black. Yeah, I think I really Riddle passed away like many years ago, but I'm not sure. And you know, he was heavy set guy. Not picture of like sporting health. All right, Chess Riddle. Thanks for subscribing and gifting 2 subs today. So, Chess Riddler is black. This is an over the board game. A lot of people play. Well, I mean, not many people play c5. But a lot of people here with white will play weak moves like e3. E3 is not so bad. C3. C5 is particularly good against people who play like the London system. But at the higher levels, it's tough. I don't think I've ever played C5. I've never really played the Benoni much. But it's probably a good move up until you're facing like 2300 and above. Then I think it's gonna get significantly tougher. I think a lot of people don't probably play that well against this. I have a friend who plays the Franco Benoni, but traditionally the main line for white here was e4. It's interesting the Stockfish and computers have a little bit like kind of changed people's perceptions, I think. When I grew up and I studied openings in the chess encyclopedia, like the Shock Informator and encyclopedias from Yugoslavia, e4 was definitely considered to be white's best move, period, end of story. Like, it's better than c4. And I think, like, with Stockfish and engines, it's not necessarily clear that e4 is really necessarily better than c4. Interestingly enough, I always thought, oh, it must be better to play e4. It's the central pawn. It's not so clear. So basically, when I was white, I always would play e4, and I would always recommend people that I was teaching to play e4 if they could. But I would kind of change my opinion, at this point, and say I think either one is good, depending on what you feel more comfortable with. So c4 transposes to like a normal Benoni. Black here has the option to play some kind of non-knight f6 type of Benoni, which means knight e7 based setups, or my friend Salanci Emil, who used to play with like knight h6. So I don't know if you should play e takes d or not. I'm not sure that there's any disadvantage in d6. I mean, there is the possibility of white playing e4 again. But e takes d, e takes d. I mean, I feel like if people are playing c4, they're probably going to take toward the center. I would think most players would take toward the center here. Why would you bother to play c4? The main idea of e4 is that if black plays just e6, we're going to play knight c3. We're not going to play c4 for white. This is or was and is considered to be like kind of the main way to play the white side of essentially the white side of the Franco Benoni, or whatever you call it. Larsen, famous for playing this with black. It's hard to handle for both sides, I think, and it's not that commonly seen. So once white has played c4, I feel like he's kind of obligated to take on d5 with a c pawn if he really wants to play for something. So e takes d5, you don't have to do that. You can play d6. And this isn't particularly good. So white will typically play knight c3. And if d6, knight c3, you can play like g6, for example. That's funny. Yeah, Iveta played black against Novakov. Good luck with that. E4, and now this is what I'm talking about. Bishop g7. I've had white in a lot of games and a couple games with black here. And then what I've done is usually bishop d3. And see, here you can go with the Salanci style thing, like knight h6. There's not a lot of analysis on this type of stuff. I think Manasian has played it. But the much more common line is knight e7. And I had this game where I lost with white against Kovalenko. Now I can't remember the order of moves. But I have played h4 in a bunch of games. I think what happened against Kovalenko was that I got like chicken and I didn't play it. I've played h4. I played h4 against Medved solely, and I know from experience that this is like White's best move. Against Kovalenko, I got chicken and I like played h3 or something, and it was never second guess yourself, you know. See, here's the Manassian games. Yeah, 97 is risky, but I'm just trying to illustrate some alternative ways for Black to play. I mean, if you want an alternative to a traditional Benoni, I think they're very interesting. Now e4, okay, that's not our game. We played e takes d5, cd5, you played d6. You're transposing to a normal Benoni now. After e4, knight f6, knight c3, g6, and White's best move is f4, probably. I have extensive experience playing the white side of the Benoni, not so much as Black, but I have played a little bit, mostly out of King's Indians. So f4 is a scary line, and you got to be prepared for that. I'm not going to go into the details, but your opponent played a kind of rare move here, bishop e2. I mean, f4 specifically, bishop g7, bishop e5 check. This is the best variation for White that he can play. But even this isn't like the refutation. This is better than knight f3, which is like a more traditional four pawns attack. That also has venom, but Black is probably fine. The questions about bishop e5 check, this is more problematic for Black. I don't think Black is quite 100% okay here. You know, this is a dangerous line. But White also has to know what the hell he's doing. Okay, bishop e2 is rare. I would think we would probably transpose to a knight f3. There are some people who will go crazy and like do h4, g4. We're very happy to see that. See h4. I've even seen g4. Yeah, I think if they want to do that, that's fine. Good luck. But White transposes back into normal territory with knight f3, castles, and now castles. And then, you know, obviously they also have knight d2. This is a major variation here. And now you played rook e8. Here I'm not enough of an expert to tell you what's best. I haven't played this line more than like once. I lost to Christian Sabo. I think I played rook e8 as well, about 15 years ago, 10 years ago. The only time I ever played this line with Black, I did like rook e8, b6, or something. It was bad. But, you know, bishop g4 is probably like, I don't know, nobody wants to play the Benoni, you know, to play a safe opening. But I think there's an argument for bishop g4 from the strategic side, which is very strong. And that's why White plays h3. If you trade pieces in the Benoni, you know, you're making your game a little bit easier. You have less space, so you want to trade pieces to avoid congestion. I mean, you said it's the main line, but if you look at the opening explorer, that's not the case. Now, it may be different in chess base. This opening explorer, you have to take with a grain of salt. But that's a really mega difference. I mean, 622 games with rook e8 and 223 games with bishop g4. There may be transpositions in different move orders. But based on the information we have here, bishop g4 is not as common as rook e8. I'm not a big fan of like knight a6 or whatever. You know, that's just kind of weird. So that's really rope-a-dope. Bishop g4. White has two options, you know, letting the capture on f3 or knight d2. You know, sometimes people play like this. They like trade light square bishops. Bishop e2, queen e2, rook e8 may be a mistake. See, here you've got to know what to do. I remember in the late 80s, this game at my chess club where white was a master, and I don't remember who was playing black, but black absolutely got, maybe a friend of mine, they absolutely got destroyed. It was a classic sealer sweeper. So, like, somehow the black just got stuffed with f4, pawn takes pawn, and f5. That's the thing that happens a lot of times. Now it looks like there's pressure on the file, so f4 maybe doesn't work. You can take on e4. So white typically, what does white do here? Not so clear. a4. Maybe it's not so bad. Anyway. Alright, so no bishop g4. We play rook e8, knight e2. Now this is like main line. Yeah, I mean, I feel like my game against Sabo Christian, I played like b6 under the impression that this was okay. It looks like it's okay. I mean, I lost a horrible game, but Christian was better prepared in the opening. The idea is like bishop a6, trading pieces again. Let's see, like f3, a6, a4. Well, now we can't play bishop a6. I don't know. I mean, as I said, like, I'm not that well accustomed to this. Rook e8, knight d2, a6, a4. Okay, now you don't have the b6, bishop a6 type of plan. So, Gashimov. That's a good sign. You're there with Gashimov, Mikhail Tal. Gashimov was the best Benoni player before he tragically died, living. Vargazoli told me a story that I don't know how well, he didn't really know Gashimov well, but he's a grandmaster. Perhaps he had played him, I don't know. What Varga told me was that Gashimov would play the Benoni, but he wouldn't just play the Benoni, he literally had 4 different variations prepared in every possible line. Something like that, He was so deeply prepared. It wasn't 1 or 2 or 3, he would have 4 different ways of playing in the same position, Really hardcore. So, yeah, I mean, traditionally I think b6 makes sense to try to trade pieces. Let's see a4. Now you can go knight a6 to head into b4. Wow, Dubov lost the game with white to that Harsha Rashid guy. He's been steadily going up, but I mean, that's a major upset. Jeez. 2022, really? Dubov loses to that guy. Kind of average. So 97 will be the kind of standard. And here there's just tons of games. Now, is this Spassky Fischer? Are we in Spassky Fischer here after Queen C2 95? This is Spassky Fischer 1972. Portish versus Velimirovich 1975. But I don't remember the exact position with Spassky Fischer. I thought it was Queen C2, but I'm not sure. Rook E1 maybe? When did Fischer play Knight H5? We'll have to ask Uber Driver, he's not here. He's a big Fischer fan. A4, H5. Now, H5 is not something I've seen before in this type of position. Knight on BD7. That was the most famous game of the Spassky Fischer 1972 match. The Benoni with black. Where Spassky took on H5 and Fischer opened the G file, This idea of allowing white to capture on H5 is possible. Especially with the queen on C2, obviously. But H5, I don't know. This looks kind of dubious to me. On the other hand, it's not that crazy. I mean, it's a typical idea in the King's Indian. The only thing is, like, if you play h5, you're burning your bridges as far as, like, some terms, you can't be necessarily playing f5 as well. So h5, I don't know. It's questionable. Here, yeah, I mean, I don't know what that is. That's some kind of women's championship game. F3 looks weird, to be honest. But I get it. Like, White's trying to defend the e4 pawn, so that she can play, like, knight c4. I'm not sure I necessarily want to play f3 facing h5 on the board. Is it really the right idea now? H5. I mean, we saw in the other variation where rook e3 comes in. If you look on the other main line, getting this rook where White has, like, the river guarding rook here, that seems a lot more logical to me than playing f3. This is a way more constructive move. No, I wouldn't be inclined to play f3 necessarily. You can see that someone played a5. That allows b5, so it's, like, kind of committal. I like rook a3 best. I mean, we might play f3 later. You can also play h3, possibly. But again, I think I would keep my options open, put my rook on a3. This is a very constructive move for White, and there's almost no downside. Way better. F3, okay, committal. And now Black played h4. This Peruvian woman, I know her brother is, like, a grandmaster. I don't know him, but knight f d7. This is like, damn, you've got all the time in the world here. Wow. I mean, it feels like if White is a strong player, they gotta pull the trigger on maybe f4 or something. Look at these pieces. I mean, doesn't White have to do something here, like f4? Before it's too late? Just saying, like, the only other game Black played that, and White played knight c4. I was expecting bishop d4 check. She didn't do it. She did this, and they just swapped pieces. Oh man, White played knight e3. And then Black played... This is a weird game. I don't understand. These players don't seem that strong. Okay, h5, f3, h4. Yeah, I mean, this is consistent, I think. But again, maybe White needs to consider the risky-looking f4. Just because you played f3, I mean, doesn't mean you're never going to play f4. White has to be open-minded. If they just do nothing, you're going to get a ironclad grip on the dark squares. So now knight h5, and again, I think that White needs to seriously consider the possibility of f4. Because, like, giving up her bishop, he's threatening bishop takes h5 as well. If f4, what do you do? You have bishop d4 check, and then the like killer tricks, like check, king h4, knight g3 check, takes. Is this lights out? It looks bad. That's the kind of tricks that we're playing for. So maybe... Well, I mean, first of all, I'm not convinced about knight c4. Again, maybe White should play f4 here and just, call you on this. No, you're not playing knight h5. Did you say you're playing knight h5? I don't think so. This is much harder now. Yeah, I think white needs to be willing to change plans based on what you're doing, you know. Having played h4, this is not good enough. Now knight h5, and you've got nasty threats. So I guess white has to be very conscious of the bishop d4 check and the dark squares. So this looks really out of touch. Queen c2 seems out of touch. Slightly out of touch with reality. It's too late though. It may be already too late. Well, let's see. What did we say? f4, bishop d4 check. Okay, we have to try this. But h5 is hanging. I'm not sure what's going on here. You know, bishop takes c3, b takes c3, rook takes e4. You're attacking this, you're attacking this. And the point is, if bishop takes here, you have rook takes c4. Is your rook trapped? Maybe. I'm concerned that your rook is trapped. This may not be good enough. Like this is problematic. So I don't like giving up the bishop on c3 unless we have to. You don't have another option here, though. It looks like. Queen c2 made me think he wasn't having fun. No, but I mean, so f4 is the real deal. f4 calls your bluff. I'm not sure you have anything better than going into the insanity. I mean, you can play bishop d4 check and trade bishops, but I don't know. It doesn't look good enough, you know. So I think we need to rethink this, going back. Like h4 is not good enough. The computer thinks you should hold off. But her move is also artificial. This undeveloping bottleneck is not good. So you're supposed to play like knight on bd7. You know, and I think that speaks to like just, you should play knight bd7. Although, you know, they do have f4. I mean, h5 is an interesting idea. You gave your opponent something to think about, and they failed. Check, bishop e3. Now that's forced. But now you have dark squares. There is intermezzo with knight f4. Obviously. But white has knight e3 there. Actually, I don't know what's going on here. Well, it looks like white's disorganized anyway. You have good play at this point. But really, you should, you know, you're either winning or you're like dead because your pawn structure is falling apart. I'll just explain one thing to you. When you play the Benoni, this is the pawn structure from hell. You know, if that holds, black is like done. You know, look at your pawn structure. If the pawn structure stays intact, black's done. You know, that pawn wall is like the end of days for black. So you basically burn your bridges behind you. Bishop f1. Now you have bishop takes and h3. Perhaps you had it better here. But I don't know. You know, after bishop takes, h3, knight takes d6. Well, you have pawn takes pawn there. This is possible. I don't know how much you can afford to wait on this. What did you play? Knight d7, developing a piece. But the base is falling here at d7, at d6. White also has the option to play king h1. What are we doing after king h1? Do you have some kind of insane idea, like rook c8 or something? I mean, anyway, I think king h1 would be safer. Knight d6 here. Wow. There's a lot of stuff. There's also d3. So he grabs material? Oh, wow. So he could grab the material. Phew, bro. It looks like a mating attack, almost. Your attack is very, very strong here. So he plays rook a3, and then this is a interference motif. I mean, White's last chance was h1, I think. He should have played king h1. I don't think he has time for knight takes d6. Rook takes, knight takes e8, rook takes e8, and then bishop takes d3, and then you don't have g2. So this is good, wow. So if knight c3, knight c3, (23) and me. What happened now? Okay, this is our last game, guys. I think. What happened now? 1, 2. Am I counting pawns? I don't like to count pawns. We're down 2 pawns. Pieshka. But his bishop is loose. So queen d2. I mean, this is the question. Does he play knight here, or does he play queen d2? No, I mean, I think I don't need to see the computer to know that you have enough compensation. I'm not sure if you're winning. Now you have rook c1, though. So that's why I'm thinking it might be better for him to play knight c3. If you play knight c3, your rook can't get access to c1. Rook c1 is an interesting move, penetrating. This is what I was curious about, you know. Does this change the evaluation in some way, you know? You can, I mean, his queen is overloaded, right? Here and here. If he lets you overload his queen, it changes everything. I wasn't sure what happens after knight to c3. If he plays knight c3 and me. And that pretty much kills the C file, so I need something here. We need something here. What is it? Where is it? What is it? It feels like we might have something, but on the other hand, maybe not. I mean, you might be desperate and play like b5 or something. But I'm not sure that's enough. Feels like black might be short of... I'm going to turn on the engine. I can't handle it anymore. But you're winning with bishop takes g2. What? Wow, this is winning. Bishop g2, rook g2. I looked at this. What? What am I missing here? Oh, you're just taking... Okay. No, you're winning. You've got knight g2, queen d2, queen e3 check. No, there's a definite reason. Okay. So that's concrete. Okay. I would have seen it eventually. No, he has to go to d2. I'm sorry. And he has to go to d2. No, he has to keep e3 protected. Okay, that's the win. But now what I was wondering about was this. Is this good? No. Wow. Wow, he could take it. He could sack the queen. Knight e2 check, bishop e2, queen takes here. He has too many pieces. Damn. Alright. Let the computer do the grunt work. I'm just here for inspiration. But, alright. It's certainly a scary position. So you pulled your bishop back, threatening knight h3 check. Now he's forced to play king h1 with the threat of knight h3. And now, yeah, it's inspiration. Well, one pawn down wouldn't be a problem. The problem is that you're 2 pawns down, you know, objectively. It's 1 pawn too many. If you don't come up with some kind of bullshit here, white's winning, probably. It's not going to be a draw, you know, you're like 2 pawns down. Queen e5 looks like a reasonable move. The point is you don't have quite enough compensation. Objectively. And now, what happened at the end? Undetermined. What's the final result? White lost on time. But I mean, this is like a crazy position. I am unsure what's going to happen. I wouldn't want to be like back against the computer here, you know. We resigned after an illegal move. An illegal move? What? Illegal move? What the heck could be an illegal move? He did like a Washington Square Park knight move or something? I understand it was an over-the-board game, bro. No, can I slap you? Can I slap you, dude, for that? It's no shit, man. I know it was an over-the-board game. Seriously, man, no respect. I just can't imagine what illegal move it was. You know, normally illegal moves played over the board are like, you know, you move into check or something, but he can't like move into check. You know, there's nothing like that in this position. It's hard to picture what his illegal move was. King G1 was illegal with number 2 on the board. Number 2. Wait, I don't understand. You played rook takes f4. Made it 2 on the board. Alright, so you're saying like later he made an illegal move. Not in this position. It's not illegal to play King G1 here. I thought it was like in this position he made an illegal move. Just later in like time scramble. Okay. I'm just gonna slap Nedog around. Yeah, so well, I mean this is like it's okay for rapid, or for your opponents in time pressure. I think you have reasonable compensation. The important thing is that you blockaded, you know, he doesn't have a passed pawn that's really scary. You blockaded his D pawn, you blockaded his E pawn. So in practice, it's hard for white to, yeah, you have like Queen D4 threatened. You're blockading his passed pawns. The knight was on E2. That's the game which immortalizes this. King G1. Oh, I just put in King G1. Yeah, this is delete from here. What would you do with white, though? Would I take that pawn? Bishop takes b5, rook takes c3. Unclear. Bishop takes d7. I don't like the look of that. Knight takes d5. And also don't like the look of that. You could get a situation where, yeah, I mean, it's very scary for him. He is protecting the back rank, though. Yeah, but I mean, the queen and knight combo is extremely dangerous in this type of position. Again, I wouldn't want to be a computer, but I mean, I wouldn't want to be playing a computer. White is winning, but again, if it's a human player in a scary situation with time problems, it's not so easy, you know. You could say all day that the computer says it's +3, but in a practical game, limited time, white can definitely go wrong, you know. You wouldn't want to be playing like Hikaru in a, let's just say, in a 1 minute game, Hikaru would pick black, you know. I mean, there's no question, I think. it's like a little tricky to play white. You have to know how to consolidate with a space advantage and very little time. Anyway, guys, yeah, thanks for analysis, Sledge. That's a nice bass you got there. NetOg. Maybe next week we'll have some games from NetOg to analyze. I caught some kind of cold, so I'm a little bit under the weather apparently. And that cinnamon fireball was it did something to my head. I think I had sugar overload or something. So that's it for the games we have submitted today. A few seconds ago, we had a new follower. We've had a couple new followers in the last hour, so thanks for that. Guys, it's never too late to donate. Is that the end? That's the end if we have no other game submissions from different subscribers. Is that the end? Well, yeah, it's been 3 hours. You'll play some good Rapid on Lee Chess. Yeah, almost 3 hours. Well, it's 2.5 hour stream. Wait, oh, you mean that's not the end of your game? Then why is it the end? Oh, I'm sorry. But I don't understand. That's all I got. It's not the end of the game. That would make you feel better. That's why I'm asking you. I thought that it was over. That was the end of the game that I got. Somebody must have copied and pasted it wrong. Okay. Yeah, no, sorry, my bad. I thought it was strange. I thought you said there was a legal move and that's how it ended. Okay. I thought you didn't have it. No. I intended to finish the game. But I don't understand why that one got cut off or something. No, I didn't know. That was cut off. It moved 30. I don't understand. Maybe your copy and paste. Here we go again. What is going on? Something's cutting it off when I try to load it. Okay, let's do it the other way. I can just get the PGN and copy it. I don't know why. Something's cutting it off for some reason, and I don't really understand it. For some reason, it's getting cut off at move. It keeps getting cut off at that move from the PGN. No problem. I did not realize. No, that's why I was surprised by the weird ending of the game. I thought you'd like, oh, it's it was an illegal move. I didn't understand. Yeah, of course we'll finish the game. Here. Now that's correct. Okay. Now that's more like it, an actual finish. Yeah, so we left off in the last show with b5. A takes b5. Yeah, right. And taking is possible, but looks very risky. Okay, bishop takes b5, loses 2 pieces for the rook. Just asking a question here. If he plays bishop takes b5, rook c3, queen c3, because I'm scared to get checkmated. There's a freaking fly. These little fruit fly have an infestation. Takes, bishop takes b5. What's happening here? Because I'm kind of scared. Damn it. Oh, it survived. Damn it. Alright, knight takes b5, bishop takes b5. Rook and 3 pawns for 2 pieces. I don't know about this, man. This creeps me out. I'm a little worried about those pawns, dude. 2 pawns would be no problem, but 3 pawns is an issue. I don't know how firm our blockade is here. If my king was on e5 and I could play like f5 or something. Basically, it's the chain again. Like if our king is here and we can, bam, hit him with f5, just blow it up like a flash bang grenade in the middle of the board, everything's fine. But if he keeps these 3, that's concerning, It looks like we're lost here. Okay. So, that's not an option. Houston, we need another option. If he calls our bluff with bishop takes b5, what are we going to do? We're not going to do rook takes c3. We need something else. And we don't really want to trade pieces, but I don't see a way to avoid it. So I have some interesting ideas. Knight off. We get his knight off the back rank, and now we have knight takes d5. And I'm not sure if this works, but it definitely deserves consideration. 99% of tactics don't work. 99% of dentists recommend rook c2. My big idea is this. Here. And what does white do? That's the back rank. So I don't see a move for white. He's got to sack his queen or something. Maybe he could sack his queen. I don't even see how to do that, honestly. This is problematic, man. No, queen d1 sacks the exchange. No, there's no time for that stuff. Looks like white's lost here. Yeah, he's lost. Wow. Okay, well anyway, like he can't take the knight. You know, he's got to lose back a pawn, and you're still 2 pawns down, but you took out his scariest pawn. And I think you have reasonable practical chances. He can't take on d5, and that's the point. So knight takes d5 saves you here. So he doesn't take the pawn, he plays this, but I don't know if this is better objectively. Now you're threatening to penetrate. You know, it looks like objectively he should have taken the pawn now. I don't think this helps him in the long run. Alright, now if I'm white, I'm going to roll up in a little ball and cry like Nedog. Please don't hurt me. I was thinking queen e1. That looks good, huh? Pinning unprotected. How about queen c1? Leaving our rook unprotected. It's like something's going to be unprotected in every possible position. It's okay, Nedog's had a vasectomy. It doesn't matter. Knight takes b5. Nedog has been neutered. As for me, he likes to go to the neutered beach. Knight takes b5. I'm just picking on Nedog because he's one of our biggest donators. Knight takes b5, bishop takes b5, bishop takes b5. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Alright. What would Magnus Carlsen do? Oh, we have the back rank stuff again with like knight takes d5. No. That does not work. Not this time. That is not gonna work, bro. You played rook a1 check dubious according to the engine. Knight h5. This is a tough one, man. Yeah, but maybe like, you know, maybe you made a mistake here playing bishop takes b5. Perhaps trading pieces is not to your benefit. What of like rook a1 immediately? I think in general you shouldn't trade any pieces. But I guess this type of thing is what we're worried about. You don't think the bishop's helping you? Well, his bishop, you know, is pretty passive. I'm not sure about this, honestly. Sacking your queen. Bishop takes b5, queen takes e5, bishop takes f1. Anybody? Suggestions? You like b4? I like b4. But that's okay, we can move the rook again. Just move the rook, calmly move your rook. Is he gonna like follow us around? Let's just say rook d1, you know. Dude, I don't like this for white, to be honest. I think this is sketch. But he has a draw. Check. I think he has a draw here. No, actually no, because you can go to h7. Yeah, he doesn't even have a draw, actually. He doesn't have a draw. So it looks like white's lost again. Yeah. It's mate at 5. Oh, Jesus. Jesus. So queen d4 is not the solution. Okay, well, I mean, okay, he can play, like, knight back. I'm just saying, in general, you shouldn't trade pieces. It doesn't mean that bishop takes b5 is necessarily bad. Knight h5 is hard to find, though, you know? You're threatening knight g3 check and take with the pawn, and then you have mating nets. That's the idea. What about, like, f4, though? What are you going to do on f4? Just simply going to take the e4 pawn, I guess. Well, I mean, you're still good here. He can't try anything because he'll get back rank mated. He's still not out of the woods at all. You know, so white, I don't know what to do. It's pretty scary, especially if he's in time pressure. Okay, that was hard to find. I mean, it's kind of counterintuitive to pull your knight off of f4. Check, rook f1, rook a2. This is logical. And then he tries to trade queens, which actually makes sense. If you do trade queens, he's probably winning, you know, unless you have some kind of perpetual. I think the maximum you can get is perpetual. So you avoided trade of queens. Now you're triple attacking g2, which looks great. How can this not be good? No, you're not triple attacking it. I forgot he has a b pawn. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I don't know what else to do. Do you have another alternative here, like queen b8 or something counterintuitive? Queen b8, queen g5 is obvious. Queen b8 hits the bishop, though, and you are, like, attacking here. Let loose the Kraken. He got mad at me. He said, peas are hard. I said peas are moldable loose. My roommate was like, I have an ice pack. I told him I wouldn't work the reason they said peas. Peas make a good ice pack, though. They do. Frozen peas do make a good ice pack, bro. I don't see anything against that. I see no reason to not use them as an ice pack, especially after your vasectomy. So, I did this move review dressed like a pirate. Ah, that's cool. Yeah, I love that. I like that. I was going to get a panda suit, you know, but maybe I'll switch to a Kraken. I like the pirate theme. Barnacle Bill. Barnacle Bill. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, honestly, I would have played the same move as you. But because this looks like you're dead. I mean, it's nice to get the g2 pawn, but these two are, one of them would be one thing, but two of them is too many. You're not going to stop those. You cannot trade queens here. This is counterintuitive to find this. But the point is you're on b2 twice, and you're on the bishop, which means you'll hit the rook if you take it, so this is kind of a good move too. What do we do? You go back to e5 and you offer a draw. That's what Chicken International Master would do. I would probably make a draw at this point, dude. I mean, honestly, I would probably play this, and then if I was in time pressure, I would just repeat position. I'm 2 pawns down. I'm cool with it. It's okay. If you want to draw, it's fine. Wow. He's winning after rook b1. You see, this is a computer, though. A computer calmly finds the defensive move. But I like this. I think that's your best practical try. I only saw this at the last minute, the queen c3 idea. But again, you're still practically in the game here. This is not so easy. It all depends on the time control. In a sudden death game, I'd say you're probably better. With increment, it depends on the amount of increment and my opponent, Practical considerations factor in. As I said, if it's a 1-minute game and Hikaru's black, he'd rather be black than white. Objectively, the computer is winning. But queen and knight is really, really dangerous. Yeah, so you played rook a5. This is obviously, it's a nice decoy. And then there, and that stops... It doesn't stop our opponent from playing d6, it discourages d6. So now d6, rook takes c6, d7, rook d6. That's a problem. b4. Oh. Now we have penetration. Shall we go to c4 or c3? I mean, honestly, you still have rook c4, rook d4 type of stuff. But rook c3 is better. You're deeper in there. You're threatening f3 in some lines. You might have rook d3. And you could just see white here. I mean, I would expect you to play this, of course, but instead you got him with rook e3. That's a neat idea. I like connect 4 motif. Did you call out connect 4? Connect 4! Oh shit, I forgot we're playing in a chess tournament. Alright, rook e3. Threatening rook e2. And now, oh my gosh. Now we've got some stuff. That knight h5 thing is kind of making a comeback now. I mean, you gotta start seriously considering this at this point. Because he's smothered mating himself with rook g1 type of stuff. This is serious. That looks like maybe white doesn't have a defense. You've got knight g3 check. How does he defend against knight g3 check? Can someone explain to me how that works? Okay, move the rook again. He has to move the rook again. Somewhere. I don't know where. Let's say d1. So my question is this, here, check. If takes. I'll bet you that the things could get out of control after queen e3, d6. I'm wondering, are we winning? Yes, check here, check here, check here, check here, check here. I don't know where we're going to be able to stop that pawn. Check here. Well, maybe we are, though, because he's going to have to cross over. This is crazy, man. Black's winning. But, you know, it would be hard to figure that out, like, over the board. So knight h5 is super tempting at this point. But you played rook e2, which is not tempting, just good. Oh, shit. Alright, yeah, that's a bit stronger than rook e2. I mean, than knight h5. Sorry for the dementia. I think at this point he's lost. He has a move, he gives him a double question mark. Queen d4 was best. Queen d4 was best? Really? Wow, he can hold on here. Can he really survive? Pushing his pawns? You don't have an immediate win. You really need time to play like h3. Wow. b6. Unbelievable. Like, even at the Grandmaster level, I mean, if players are in time pressure, they wouldn't be sure what was going on here. It's hard to blame you for playing rook takes g2. Oh, that didn't happen in the game, though. Okay. So rook e2, he has a way to save the game. Queen there. Wow. That's just not normal. I mean, I thought like you were winning once you broke through at g2. And this is still not winning. Because the same thing. He plays queen d4, right? What's wrong with queen d4 now? Wow, h3 is enough. So that tempo is decisive. Wow, the tempo is decisive after queen. That's crazy. After queen d4, rook takes g2, b6, you're lost. But after queen d1, rook takes g2, queen d4, you're completely winning after h3. So, like, just literally one move. And this is the difference. He can't afford to lose a tempo. And this is tempo. And now it's the same thing. Well, I mean, the question is, okay, he gets to this position. You played h3. It's his turn. And then the question is, what is black threatening? What do you menace in this position? Nedux says 93. I don't get it. What is 93? Is 93 really? Like, just say, yeah, he plays what he played. See, now I've missed it. I missed it. I'm too tired, but b6... See, like, 93 doesn't actually threaten anything. This is not a threat. You know, you just take it with the queen, and you're pinned. That's the point. He, like, didn't see it. You know, I didn't see it either. Wow, that's just brutal. Yeah. No, I mean, and it's no here. h3 would be the other winning square. You need something that, like, attacks g1, apparently. I would also be looking at stuff like... I would be looking at stuff like queen h5, you know? You think, okay, but it takes pressure off of g1. You can't take pressure off of g1. But you want to, like, increase the threats, so you got to add more pressure to white's position, but how? The only obvious move is, like, queen h5, but then you just, like... You're not threatening anything, you know, again. I mean, I think a lot of players would have, like, lost on time or simply blundered here with black. if they were in time pressure. They would have played the Nedog variation. And then after b7, they're like, fuck, what am I going to do? Maybe you have... Yeah, it's 92. Is there any other move that doesn't lose? Okay, so King h7 is actually winning. Because you wouldn't queen with check. I guess it's like a neutral move. It's made in 4. Brutally over attacking, like overwhelming g1. Beautiful. He can't take on e2 because of mate on g1. And then the final point is the beautiful line. Only move, you know, and then he has to make an illegal move. King g1. King g1. King g1. King g1. Wait, I can't play king g1. Okay. King g1. Yeah. Queen f1. Queen f1 mate is not illegal. King g1 can be played over the board illegally. Yeah, I think that's what must have happened. He played king g1. King g1's a good try. Going into double check. Yeah, cool. Yeah, nice game. That was fun. Yeah, typical Benoni, you know. I mean, that's the whole point. That's basically, this game is like a typical, that's the point of the Benoni. Not to play like correctly. It's not George Meyer playing the French, you know. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's murky and you were lost, but that's the whole idea. Okay, exciting games, guys. Now we actually finished. Now I feel better. Yeah, if I don't get sick or something, I'm going to be back tomorrow morning doing some rapid games here. Don't forget to support the stream. We need coffee, beer, and pizza and wine. I'll need a supply of coffee, beer, pizza, and wine in Italy. We've just paid for hotel, travel, and basic stuff so far. So thanks, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and keep the donations flowing to the World Senior. Leaving on next Wednesday. I'm going to try to become a Grandmaster the easy way. I'm going to become a Grandmaster the not so easy way by winning the World Senior Championship. I could still be the youngest World Senior 50 plus champion, maybe, even though I'm 50, rather than 49 like last year. Nedog, you could play. Nedog, if you played, Nedog, if you played and you changed your mind and you played and you entered at 49, you would be the youngest World Senior Champion. You'd also be like the second. There's only one unrated player in the tournament. There's literally one FIDE unrated in the whole field. Alright, guys. Czech's vacation. Czech's cruise. Sexual disorder. Definitely. You have a sexual obsession that you need to have treated. I'll wait for you next year. Astrobate gifting tier 1 sub to the Schieberspieler. Nice. Community. Schieberspieler, are you out there? Guys, we're wrapping it up. I will see you on Friday. Just don't forget the donations, because chess leads to perpetual brokenness. You hear it first here. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you in Qatar. No, just kidding. Chess Riddle just gifted tier 1 sub to Thaddeus 1973. That's a new one. What are the odds that you gifted a tier 1 sub to Schieberspieler? He's not online. Later, y'all. Take care. Thank you for the gift subs, guys. I appreciate it. See you tomorrow, Mr. Coffee, wherever you are. Bye-bye.